surgery. The Canberra and England Star revealed the news on Thursday after undergoing an operation in Australia. While an exact return date isn't clear, Canberra are hopeful his time off the field will be minimal, with a more clear picture expected nearer to the start of the season.
Yeah, that's a shame, isn't it, if he's going to miss the start of the season, because obviously he's been fantastic, but he's still strong on his Twitter game. Today, firing some bullets at George Williams' useful look in the pre-season sort of picture parade for Canberra Raiders. So yeah, it's still not knocked him off his game too much, hasn't the operation?
I think it'll come back strong, won't he?
Yeah, you would expect so. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that is all for the news from around the world of rugby league this week. We're now going to move on to another abbreviated section of the show for this episode, and that is the Super League match reviews. Super League match reviews time then, and it was round 2, two-thirds completed round 2. From the 4 games, we had an average attendance of 11,401, so positive attendances continue in the early stages of this season, despite some challenging weather conditions or that even affected some of these games, but not quite to the extent of the Sunday games that were called off. But we start on Thursday night, Sarah, with Warrington hosting St Helens.
Yep, so it finished Warrington 19, St Helens 0, after being 13-0 at half-time. There were 12,562 people watching it, and Chris Kendall was the referee. The team stats are incomplete because there was no stats for Matty Ashton.
It's doing my head in. I want to see if the guy is making as many metres as he looks like he's making, because it looks like he's absolutely burning it up.
I'm not a fan. Anyway, so for Warrington...
Whoa, hold on. That's a classic Scoots against the Tide moment there. You're not a fan of Matty Ashton?
No. He's a bit niggly, he's a bit annoying.
Do you think?
He's a bit overhyped.
It's just so fast.
Yeah.
It's
fast,
just exciting.
smart.
Speed excites me on the pitch, I think is just what it is.
Right, yeah, he's alright. I think he'll fizzle and burn.
Right, well, poor lad. You've done it again, Sarah.
I wasn't trying to make you laugh.
Brilliant. Individual
stats.
Can
I go back to the individual stats? So, for Warrington, Josh Charnley with 1 try, 134 metres, 2 clean breaks. Sitalaki Akuula with 110 metres. And for the losing St Helens, they had a lot of players in the stats, or they just got long names. James Bentley with 41 tackles and 13 mark tackles. Zeb Tyre with 40 tackles and 109 metres. Luke Thompson with 112 metres and Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook with 111 metres.
Yeah, the Warrington stats were more like even team effort, whereas I guess Saints had a few players who had to work a bit harder individually, but didn't help them out in the end.
Yeah.
So the first of the fan views, we start with Paul O'Brien, 1976. POB 1976, who is Paul O'Brien. He said, St Helens not at the races tonight. A tough 30 minutes from both sides before Warrington took control. Warrington strong in defence and attack, where Saints looked flat compared to last week.
Carson said the first 30 minutes were for the purists, but the Wire controlled the first half pretty good. Saints were trying to score in the second half, but too many errors made it easy for Warrington to nil them. Very good defence from the Wire in the last set. Oh, did Gelling go from rocks and diamonds to just rocks now?
I think he did have a few errors, didn't he, in the first half of this game?
I didn't actually see this game because I was at the Peter Sterling event.
Ah, of course you were. Right. Well, we'll try and fill it. We've got lots of fan views, so we'll fill it in as best we can from those things. So Owen Hughes, a bit of family beef coming up here, Sarah. Owen Hughes said, maybe Saints won't run away with this season after all. Dominant from Wire. I like the look of that Ashton kid too. Once he gets some experience and less errors in him, he'll be a reet danger, ball in hand.
Dr. Bob Phillips says, #Saints Slump 2020.
Well, it's the first time that they've lost in the North since since the playoffs in 2018.
Well,
So,
hopefully they'll lose again in the North on Sunday.
So it is a slump, innit?
Yep.
Fatboy Rob said, dipped in and out of this one, but I did see that Plank Charnley waving an imaginary card around. What a cunt. # it's not football. I don't even remember that, Rob, but I agree. It's not football.
Was he like advertising Rob's toy shop cards?
No, it wasn't birthday cards that he was waving around.
Okay.
I think it was trying to get someone sent off or sin-binned, I think.
I see.
Yeah.
So Josh said that was a great game. You could tell the players out for Saints affected the go forward of the team. When Saints had the ball, the attack seemed left to Lomax only. Ashton has a bright future with some great pace and line breaks. Definitely one to watch. Who is going to be replaced when Widdop is fun? 5th. Headache for Price. Saints ain't invincible and panic when pressured.
Brendan Loftus says, Wire pretty good actually. Aggressive in the middle, quick around the play of the ball. Plenty of dynamism on the flanks, and Clark well deserved the man of the match. Clearly Walmsley was a big loss for Saints, but they still might not have had enough up front. Some Saints players clearly get upset when they aren't winning, but to be nilled will make for a good return game. Enjoyable game to watch after work.
Mike Dodd said, incredible performance. Everybody stepped up, especially Cooper in the absence of Hill. Very clever of Clark to fake not playing the ball just enough to make the defence jump and create enough room to get through for his try. How Lees didn't get carded, I'll never know. Knight topped off by the DJ on BBC Radio Manchester playing 19 by Paul Hardcastle and saying, I hope you've got this one turned up in St Helens.
Neil McEwen says, holy fuckballs, I never saw that coming. Why we're outstanding as much as it pains me to say. Saints looked completely lost without Coote and Roby, etc.
Tom Eckley said, phenomenal performance all round. Philbin and Cooper really stepped up and the real Tongan Terminator had what I thought was his best game yet. Ashton still great despite a few suspicious hits. Gonna piss this league, who even needs Widdop?
I like the piss the league reference there, Tom. Wakey White said, total dominance for Wire and a rare nilling for Saints. Really impressed with the Wire defensive effort. They totally controlled the middle of the park and were all over Saints like a cheap suit. That Ashton lad looks to be a cracking signing. Price is going to have some quick, tough decisions to make when Widdop's fit again if he carries this on. At least it's not just Wakey who fall apart with a few injuries either.
Fit Sister said that's the league back open again after everybody except Robbie had Saints crowned as champions.
Robbie. That's
Did
funny.
the loss of lovely Alex in the warm-up hamper Saints? It will have had an effect, but Wire still had the game plan to win. Saints had the better looking players, but the game's not won on looks, which is fortunate for Cass.
Ha! EFC78JU, this is going to be a tough one with a cold, with not feeling great because there's no punctuation, is there? The greatest performance since Challenge Cup Final 2019 kept Saints scoreless on the night. We need to win the 2020 league season. We shall go on the Wire.
Cav said Saints made too many errors in this one. Still feel that they are the team to beat in the competition, but can't afford to have too many days like this. They were missing Coote, Makinson, Roby, Walmsley and Percival for most of it, so they probably aren't too worried but need to sort it. Warrington looked like a top 3 side this year. A solid performance from them, but I actually think they looked better last week.
Cav's a new name on me, so welcome on board, Cav. Lee Whitnell, who's not a new name to regular listeners, he said, Saints had an off night with some key blokes out, but that didn't make our utter domination of them any less satisfying for me. You've got to love a good nilling.
Yep. Paul Chamberlain said St Helens should have looked to resurrect a short-term sponsorship deal with Typhoo for this game, because they were well and truly teabagged by Wire.
Oh, he's got away with words, hasn't he, that man? Ludo Lewis said, it's happening, isn't it? Wire are going to win the grand final in the same year as Brexit and Liverpool winning the league. 2020 bringing the full trifecta of shite. Yeah, Ludo's an Everton fan, isn't he, as well? Oh.
Yes. St David said, well, that was hugely disappointing. Worst we've played since Wembley. Penalties galore and a completion rate on the floor. Hope we get back a few back for Hull next week. COYS.
See, what I like about that and EFCs is like the two sides of the coin. One's a Warrington fan talking about how it's the greatest performance since the cup final, and one's a Saints fan talking about how it's the worst performance since the cup final. I really enjoy that we get this sort of balance up on the show. So it's great that those two guys made those such similar but different comments. Rich Wilkinson said, Wire looked good for the win. Saints struggle without some big names. It's early doors, but Wire have a few big names of their own to return. It will be an interesting season. Yeah, everyone's talked about Saints having players missing, but obviously we all know that Widdop's not in this side yet for Warrington. Jack Hughes, who's one of the co-captains at the club, is missed the start of the season as well. So there are things that Wire aren't 100% strength, but they're closer, I think, to full strength than St Helens are. But what I always say is in-game injuries are the most significant injuries. Percival getting injured in-game was a factor, although really he was getting dominated by his opposition. Certainly when Murdoch Masillo started doing his flat track bully runs out at the centres and the half-backs as well. And the next, I suppose, most significant injury then would be the ones where you lose the player in the warm-up and have to totally remap your plan. And losing Walmsley in the warm-up was a significant factor as well for St Helens. So they do have real mitigation, but I mean the intensity that Warrington showed throughout this game, it was a cracking game to watch as a neutral, especially the first half, and then Warrington just with a better side.
Yeah, I think as well. You've got to question sort of Saints' strength in depth, because surely they should have had. I mean, maybe not like for like, but players coming in who were able to deliver.
I did wonder why Kyle Amor wasn't sort of in the 19. I didn't know, in the match day 19. I don't know if he was injured. I didn't catch their 21-man squad. I'm finding these 21-man squads really hard to follow because there's just too many names written down, Sarah. It's you sort of look for the ones you expect to see and kind of forget about the fringe ones.
Yeah, you sort of scroll over them a bit, don't you?
If Amor would have been the man who came in onto the bench rather than I think it might have been Joseph Paulo who came in to the reckoning. I think that would have been a better fit. But in reality, the question on strength of depth issue is Welsby. We talked about Jack Welsby's incredibly talented young player going forward with the ball, but the kid his catching is a challenge for him. He
won't be able to catch your cold.
Well, exactly. I was going to say he can't catch a cold on the Western Terrace, but yeah, that's the question mark. I agree. Because I think the top players are that good that the next level of player is going to be a drop off, even though they're good, talented kids.
Yeah.
Was there any from the highlights that you saw? Was there any particular moments that you thought looked more special than most?
Not really. I mean, as somebody commented on Clark's try, it was just a cut through the defence, wasn't it? And he was in. Yeah,
he just read the markers, really. There was Ashworth was on the floor, weren't he? That was.
He played the situation in front of him, didn't he?
Lynham's try was impressive in that you thought he was going to get stopped, and he managed to bounce back up.
Yeah, he went down to the ground, didn't he, and somehow bounced up and
the build up to that try, I think, was a bit more elaborate, but it was just dominance from Warrington. I think it's good for everyone else though, because that Warrington team, when they had 13 men, could only score one try against Wigan in 25 minutes. And they didn't score the first try for half an hour in this game against St Helens. So they're not unbeatable if you can get a fast start on them yourself. But at the same time, they look so impressive that you got to take note of them alongside clearly St Helens when they're at full strength, and obviously Castleford with 2 wins and Hull with